Okay, let's wind this job up, shall we? I am ready to be done with the work on the 2008 Honda Civic. I'm getting kind of weary, in fact, of making introductions on these videos. This is a job I've been putting off for a long time because I knew right from the beginning that it was going to be a big one. Anyway, for those just joining, this all started when the speedometer and temp and fuel gauge display went out on this car, and I decided to rework the original assembly myself rather than buy another one to replace it. So I did one video, part one, all about all of the heck I had to go through just to finally access that. And then in the second video, part two, I went through everything to rework this assembly, got into a tight with a LCD display, and there was another 2.5 hour video. Part three ended up a lot shorter than expected because I was going to go ahead and just inspect all of this, but there were disassembly problems and I didn't want to scar it up, namely couldn't get the knobs off. But I'd been promising people from the first video that I was going to look into all of it. Well, my last video ended up a lot shorter than planned because since all this was working and since it appeared to me that it was going to end up scarred just to disassemble it and go through it and inspect it, I went ahead and reinstalled this. So all of this is still working. But here finally, even though all of this is still working as well, I want to go ahead and inspect the tachometer assembly in this car. Just looking for cracked solder joints and leaking electrolytic capacitors, if there are any, anything that might give trouble in the foreseeable future before I go and put all of this back together. So there's the introduction on part 4 of the 2008 Honda Civic, and this will be the last video on this car because I'm mainly just planning to do an exploration into this, looking for all the aforementioned stuff, and I'll go ahead and rework anything that's needing to be reworked before I reinstall it and put this whole, finish getting this car back together. I won't go into a long detailed video like I did for the speedo and temp and fuel gauge assembly though. I just want to peep into this and see if anything's needed. So let's go ahead and get into the shop. That was actually kind of close quarters, just trying to unplug this. So anyway, for anybody else going to tackle one of these, be aware of that. There's not a whole lot of extra lead length right here. The cable for it and the cable for the speedometer and everything are bound together back here. So that was kind of a tight little squeeze to get this unplugged without doing, you know, causing any undue strain on it. Anyway, let's get into the shop on this. To those wondering why I've taken to posting this type of stuff here, there's a few answers to that. One is it's mainly for my own video records, I guess, as it were, since this car belongs to my mother. I can just use these videos to refer back to at a later date if I need to, about what the innards of the electronic innards of a car look like, and get an idea at a later date, should the time come when it needs to be worked on again. I'll have a better idea going into it then of what I'm going to encounter need-wise and everything. So I'm doing this partially just for my own records here. And okay, we got a little snap right here in the middle. I was wondering what was holding that. Okay, there we go. You ready now? There we go. There we are. Got the back off. But yeah, I can just refer back to these videos one day, should the need arise to actually have to go deeper servicing all this. Have an idea of what I need going in before I even tear into disassembling the car to get at all of it. You'll notice I've got a protective cloth laying down for this one, and I didn't have that in the speedometer video just because the speedometer, whoops, there we go. Tripod in the way as usual. The speedometer didn't have a pointer on it. And of course, it appears that this actually does. If I have to take that pointer off, I'm going to abandon this, and this will be a short video because, as said, every bit of this is working. It's working just fine and properly. And look at there. I'm just shifting the board back here, and the pointer is shifting with it, so the pointer does not actually come out with the board. Look at that. Okay. That is one question already answered, and not the answer I was hoping for, but well, let's see. What can I go ahead and show y'all? Another reason I'm doing this is, to anybody that's curious about it out there, this work is out there to be done, y'all. If you don't mind a work-at-home career, there are a lot of people wanting stuff like this repaired. I had no idea about, gosh, more than 10 years ago when I reworked my first automotive instrument cluster. I had no idea what a floodgate was about to open, and it has been more than 10 years of working on this type of thing now. I would actually guesstimate, if you will, about 13 years. And honestly, at this point, it's not my primary topic here. Antique electronics are my primary topic on this channel, and I really, really want to get back to all that. So I'm kind of trying to wiggle out of this work, if for anybody that'll understand it. I'm tired of stuff like this always coming up, just forever more people bringing me stuff like this. And it's forever more taking my time away from all of this, you know? And as I said, this car is my mother's, and therefore, it was a good opportunity for me to go ahead and just get it all here as a demonstration. Anybody who watched any of part 2 will notice that here on the board, once again, we've got this protective coating here over the ICs and everything. You can see it kind of reflecting there, where it looks like something clear just got spilled down over the conformal coating on the circuit board. And in the video where I was reworking the speedometer, temp, and fuel gauge assembly, removing all of this stuff right here from around the terminals for the main plug and the LCD displays and all, that took hours. If you don't mind putting the time in and everything on jobs like this, it's a good way to make a couple of $100. It's a pretty good way to do that. And I just decided to share all this stuff. Okay, if I was going to do a full rework on this, and I hope I don't have to, I would look for cracked solder joints all along this row of terminals right here. And I would go ahead and remove the pointer, which I might be about to do anyway. I might actually risk that, and especially look for cracked solder joints for each of the terminals inside the main plug here. I'm feeling like I really, since I've already come this far, I need to go ahead and do that. So I guess I'll try it. All right, well, here we go, y'all. Camera back on the tripod, and it looks like we're going to have to start by removing the lens. This is the way I work, y'all. I don't have or even bother about acquiring service data for all the myriad of jobs I get into here. It's just not, they would never be time or cost productive if I did. So every single one is an adventure. It's every time, since I don't look out for people to, usually every once in a while I'll look out for people to bring me, you know, like multiples of, I'll see multiples of the same type of assembly. But every time there's one I haven't seen before, a model I have yet to tackle, this is the way I do it. It's just dive in and hope to find a way out. And like I talked about in the last video about the climate control and radio assembly, you know, it's just follow the Hippocratic oath of first and foremost, try to do no harm. Okay, before I pull this off, I hope it pulls off, I want to note very carefully the clock position of it. And if this thing starts really putting up a fight, since it all works, oh boy, that is just like, yeah, just the slightest little touch. And that will absolutely, this is as delicate as work I do here gets. I'm used to a lot of 90s style instrumentation where actually the pointer and all comes out with it. It all just kind of unplugs from the board, and you replace the board, and then you just plug the indicator back into the replacement board, or the board in this case I would have just reworked. Trying to err on the side of caution, I'm going to go ahead and unsnap and try removing the S cushion around all of this before trying to pull that up and off of there. Maybe it will come out back through the back after I do this. I don't know. That's the problems I get into here. I never, too much of the time, I don't know. And on something that's not working, I actually don't worry about it that much. Because if something is not working, what harm can I do? But on this, I can do harm. All right, made it this far. Got locators here and here. Does this overlay? Got another locator right here. Does all of that, does any part of this just want to come off now? Oh boy. All right. Okay. And then we got locators right there. For that. And it looks like that pointer, which just at the slightest touch. Okay. Notice that's got a spring action to it. Okay. Don't put up a fight for me, please. Ooh, wee. Yeah, it's going to. It's going to. Of course, that's going to put up a fight. Why wouldn't it? Okay. We got an overlay right here, and that's still firmly stuck, and so is the one right here. Know what I think? I think we're about to have another situation like with the climate control and radio, where just because it is all still working and it's not the biggest job to come back this way and access all this again in that car and pull it out again if need be. All right, that overlay came off. All right. Okay, since it is not such a huge job just to access all of this assembly. I'm sorry, y'all. I'd like to be able to show more, but I'm going to play it safe here once again. So, the last two videos on the 2008 Honda Civic aren't really going to reveal anything nearly as much as I would like for them to. But never let it be said that I let determination get in the way of practicality. There is just no practical need at this time to risk any of this. So, once again, following that Hippocratic oath of first and foremost, do no harm, I'm going to stick this back together and I'll put it all back in the car, and hopefully I didn't create any problems by pulling it out and trying to push this far with it. Anyway, actually, doing this type of work, it's not a bad way to make some money on the side, and you know, I've done it for years now. Just using this type of work to partially finance all of the antique work. But the newer jobs on things like this have finally gotten to the point where they are just, you know, it's taking too much away from my main purpose here. So I'm going to clean the lens up and just snap all this back together and put out another video where I really didn't reveal a whole lot, and hopefully it all still works. I've done no harm, and I'll be done with the 2008 Honda Civic. Okay, I've got the lens cleaned and back on. And one thing I will do here before buttoning it all back up, finally, we'll just take a tour of all the components on this board for anybody out there, in case you come across one with something burned up. Maybe you can do like I'll do on this if I ever need to, and find the numbers that will be lost by the time something's charred. And we'll do a quick overview of the surface mount electrolytics too. We've got two right here that are 330 microfarad at 25 volt, right side by side. We've got another 330 microfarad at 6.3 volts right here. And right here we've got a 33 microfarad at 25 volts. Just in case that'll help anybody ever working on one of these specific assemblies for a 2008 Honda Civic. But now I'm going to go ahead and put it all back together and stick it back in the car, and we'll see if I ruined it. Maybe not. All of it. Finally, everything all back together. Everything. Oh, let's see if it still works. Ooh. Looking good so far. All right. Once again, turn the wipers on. I don't know how that keeps happening. Well, putting all of this cover back in and wedging it past the levers on the steering column obviously is how it happened, but let's see if I killed anything. Looking good. Let's see. Lights on. Bright. Dim. Panel bright. Panel dim. All right. That's looking good enough for me. Well, this has been an interesting few days for me, and kind of a quasi-informative, or at times not so much informative, few weeks here on the channel. I don't know how much interest to really expect a video on a subject like this to garner, but I think the main message is just don't be afraid to try it, y'all. If you're in a situation like I was in on this car, where the speedometer was just out, totally unusable, it was doing no good, don't be afraid to tear into them. The tachometer assembly, all of that was working fine at the beginning of all this, and so was all of the entertainment system, including the CD player and all of the climate control. All of that was working fine. So if a time comes when there's a real need to work on the tachometer, steering around these curves, but rest assured I'll go into more detail on it if the need arises to actually go into it and actually work on it because of a functional problem. I just didn't want to do it on the tachometer assembly or the entertainment and climate control assembly in this series of videos. You know, I'm not going to risk, as confident in myself as I am, I'm not going to risk any damage to anything that actually still works. If it had even been intermittent, you know, that'd been another story, but it's not intermittent. The only problem here was just the speedo assembly, just that, nothing else. So while I was into that, I wanted to go ahead and explore everything else that had to come out, you know, just to get at that. And I was able to repair the speedometer assembly, as I'm quite sure I would be able to repair the tachometer assembly, or pretty much any of that, you know, if it should ever fail. Hope it doesn't, not for a long time. But if you don't mind, you know, getting into somewhat labor-intensive, tedious work, don't hesitate to work on automobile instrumentation. It's really kind of amazing to me that these things hold up as well as they do. All the searing heat and humidity that they have to tolerate. You think about cars sitting in parking lots all day long with the sun just beating down on them, and all the temperatures that can be reached inside of a car, just sitting closed up in those conditions. It's really a wonder that cars nowadays survive as long as they do, being as electronic as they are to me. It really is. It's a wonder to me that the electronic assemblies in cars just are not, you know, constantly failing. Like in the sense of you replace it with a new assembly, or you take it to the dealership and it gets replaced with a new assembly, and then in just a few months you're right back for the same problem again. You know, it really looks to me like they're asking a lot of electronics for you know, here in the South, you know, for equipment like that can be that delicate. You know, think of all the electrolytic capacitors, you know, and the heat they're enduring, just, you know, living inside of an automobile. I got a slow poke in front of me up here, but anyway, it's all right. I'm ready to relax anyhow. But yeah, since I had to go ahead and tear this thing, you know, tear everything else out, you know, just to get at that one thing, this one thing. And I have no idea why. All right, there it goes. Yeah, I had no idea why the fuel gauge was appearing yellow on the camera. It looks normal from here, y'all. It was a big job, and one that I'd put off for a while, for a car right inside the family. It's really, and my phone's messaging me now, putting up a bunch of stuff that I'm going to have to look into, interfering with my closing monologue on this. But all right, that's fine. But just truly amazing, again, to me, that all this stuff holds up as well as it does. Transistor radios back in the 60s and all, I can see all of that. But when you're talking about digital circuitry, you know, digital instrumentation, you're talking about data stream technology in automobiles that's just, you know, roasting in the midday sun, you know? Like the old song goes about old dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun. So does the electronics in automobiles. All this stuff has to endure temperatures that are just incredible. And then you mix humidity in with that. It's really just a wonder to me that it holds up at all. And yet we got a 2008 Civic where, after all these years, just the speedometer, temp, and fuel gauge assembly, that was the only thing that had failed in this car. And it's been absolutely electronically, well, mechanically sound all through its life. Now we got rain coming too. This is getting better and better. I knew it was getting dark earlier. But really incredible to me. And do by all means, you know, if you're a shade tree mechanic and you can wield a soldering iron, go ahead and tear into this stuff. Really and truly, I don't get into a lot of electrolytics and transistors and ICs doing this type of work. Most of the time it's solder joint. That's all it was really with the speedo assembly. Just solder joints. If you can learn how to solder and just practice soldering on any junk circuit boards you find, you can do this kind of work. And people are dang sure willing to pay for it because you don't even have to have a business advertising it. If word just gets around that you repaired a few automotive instrument clusters, people are going to just come from miles around to give you this kind of work if you don't mind doing it. But that's about all we've got for this 2008 Honda Civic right now. And hopefully nothing else fails and makes me have to tear back into this anytime soon. But if it does, I'll put it on the channel regardless of whether people are interested in it or not. Just for my own future reference, I'll put it here. I've got one more automotive job to do before I can get back to the antique electronics without any of this more modern stuff on my mind. So I'm going to do that, and I guess I'll go ahead and make another video for another car after this one, just to go ahead and finally get all of this stuff here inside the family done, where I can go back to antique radios and televisions and antique test equipment and all without any of this stuff weighing over me. But for right now on this one, that's all I've got. So y'all take care out there, and I hope these videos kind of help people out somewhere along the line. But until next time, y'all, look out for each other and be safe. Brooks Hobby Shop, we're out. Keep it between the lines, Pierce. Keep it between the lines. There you go. Hard to do all this on such winding roads. Take care, everybody. Brooks Hobby Shop out.